Okay. So I'm juggling a few things, so bear with me, and lots of tabs. So today I figured we'd do a workshop kind of thing on Canva. And let me kind of pull up my text chat. And actually, um, I can put the note card in the little globe over there too, and then that way you guys have a copy of that. So just if you can test and see, let me know if you get a note card. Should be able to click the globe. Great. Yay. Okay. So, hello all. As I said, today we're going to kind of go over a learning to design using Canva. Um, and I'm just going to kind of copy paste as I go. Um, but so this will be a bit more kind of, as I said, workshop. So feel free to follow along if you want to try things out yourself as we go. Canva's pretty easy. And so there isn't a lot of setup. There's no software to install or anything like that. And if you do want to follow along, you can go right to canva.com and sign up for an account. And you can also, if you wanted to, you can use your um, Facebook to sign in as well to create an account. And either way, feel free to ask questions as we go. I kind of have in front of my avatar, or well, behind my avatar, facing you guys. Um, I have up a web on a prim, so that way I can kind of put up some of the links I talk about as we go. On the left, if you're looking at it, and on the right, Canva itself has a great slideshow that you can kind of find. And I'll give you links to all this stuff. I also created a Pinterest board that has links to that slideshow and links to some of the other things that I bring up. So you can just go to that pinterest.com/avatarjoy and then slash the learn to design using Canva using that link, and you should be able to um, find all the kind of sites links that I reference. There are a couple that aren't in there because they're not visual and not as easy to link on Pinterest, but they'll be in the chat anyway. So first, I figured it would be good to kind of give a little bit about me. Obviously, you guys know me from leading these weekly meetings and the various kind of nonprofit and educational projects and events that I've been involved with through the years. But really, my initial professional background is as a graphic designer. I have a BFA in visual design and illustration. So uh, so that's kind of where I come from. And though it takes a lot more design skills to use um, an experience to be kind of proficient with things like Adobe's Photoshop and InDesign or Illustrator, there are lots of other tools that you can kind of use out there that if you don't have as much experience or background in design, you can still create, effective, attractive, appealing graphics for your work. And Canva is one of those tools. So, um, of course, I have to also say that I'm not saying that working with a professional designer, like someone like myself or others, is not ever needed, but there's a lot that you can do on your own, uh, as especially if you don't have the access or funds for somebody like me to help with those kind of things. Um, so today the tool, obviously, we're going to said is Canva, and uh, Canva is an online tool for creating graphics. So whether that be flyers or a research poster, documents, a quick social media post image, any of those things, um, you can use Canva to kind of do those things, especially I think for social media graphics, or if you need a quick Facebook or YouTube or Twitter graphic. You don't have to worry about what the dimensions are for those various social media sites because they all vary on what they need exactly. You just kind of can pick easily between those things and do them without having to worry about any of those things up front. They also have an iPad app, so if you want to design while on the go, you can do that too. Um, and so again, here's the link to Canva. What I think, and I'll outlay some kind of, I think, some of the good features of Canva too. That it's fully on the web, of course. So there, as I said before, there's nothing to download, which is good. There's, as I said, also pre-sized social media templates, which is super useful. You don't have to do Google searches on what's the size I need for to update my, Facebook header on my profile or on my organization's profile. Um, they have designer templates so to get you started, so they're templates that are created by designers already, so you have a good starting base to jump from. There's lots of size and shape options, so even if you're doing free form things, you can they have images that you can kind of pull into your designs. As part of that, they also have stock images that you can pay like $1 or so for use, but there's still a lot of free stuff you can use, and that's kind of where Canva, they sort of make their money either by selling these various little stock images as you go, or certain higher priced, more complicated templates, or also for, like, of course they have premium accounts and things like that that give you more features. So that's kind of how it weighs. But the base account is free, so that's not on the list, but that's another good thing. You can also save your images to be edited or downloaded later, which is great, and not listed there too. But you can also work in groups, which if you want to share your image with somebody else and collaboratively work, it's a good way to that. You can also, almost in the way that something like GitHub works, you can collaboratively kind of like make a thing and then allow people to remix from that and take your template and kind of jump from it. So if in a case of something like we have here with our community of practice, you could create a graphic that then other orgs or other people that wanted to organize or use that event could then kind of customize for their particular uses, but still stay within your look and feel, which is super useful. And it's easy to make, like, to that point, it's easy to make those multiple similar graphics from that template. So, and and what for I think for everybody here that's useful is it's really simple. Most of it's really just dragging and dropping right within the online application. And so there's not a lot of the, if you've ever used Photoshop or Illustrator or InDesign, there's all the tools to master and all the little things within it, and then the depth of each tool and what it can do. You could spend your lifetime learning Photoshop. I've been myself using Photoshop since like late 90s. So and even then there are certain things that I have no idea how to do unless I really need to know that particular thing as deep as I've gotten within it. So it is not like that for Canva. You can easily change colors, text, photos, or images, and it's great for that. So it's really pretty simple to use it. What I'm going to do, Canva has a short kind of video that I think is useful if we all watch together. And I will put that link up here in the webinar prim as well. So it's about 4 minutes, just a little under that. Let me change this. Actually, Hi everyone. There you go. You'll have to click play.
Hi everyone. Today I'm going to take you through a crash course. Everything you need to know from start to finish when creating a design in Canva. Right now we're on the home page. To get started, you can select any of the design types we've already created, such as a Facebook cover photo. You can also set custom dimensions for a design by typing them in here. Whenever you create a design, it automatically gets saved to your profile, so you can open it again later and keep working on it.
Or that will not be good for people. So just click the play button only. And if for some reason it's restarted because somebody else has clicked that, you can go to the link that I had.
Today I'm going to take you through a crash course. Everything you need to know from start to finish when creating a design in Canva. Right now we're on the home page. To get started, you can select any of the design types we've already created, such as a Facebook cover photo. You can also set custom dimensions for a design by typing them in here. Whenever you create a design, it automatically gets saved to your profile, so you can open it again later and keep working on it. You can see some of the designs I've been working on recently saved to my profile. Let's go ahead and click Presentation and start a new design. The first thing you see when you open a new design is the Layouts tab on the left-hand side. Our designers have already created a number of layouts you can use for each design type. They're really great if you need some inspiration or help getting started. So if I go ahead and click on one, it's added to my page. Under the Search tab is where our Canva image library is located. We currently have more than 1 million images in the library. We put together some of the popular collection for you in the folders you see here, such as lines, banners, and grids. If you click on one such as text placeholders, it will bring up the collection we have in our image library. You can also search for what you're looking for using the search bar. So I might search for telephone, and that's going to show all the results we have in the library for that search. I can just drag that image into the placeholder. Next is our Text tab. You're able to add text directly to your page, or you can use one of our free text placeholders that's already been designed. If you click Backgrounds, you're able to add a solid color or pattern background. You can also use a stock image and set it as the background. The last tab is for your own uploads. You can upload your image files by clicking on Upload Images, or drag the files onto the screen. You can also connect your Facebook account to pull in your images, and then use those in your designs. Let's go ahead and actually create a quick design. First I'm going to click the Backgrounds tab and add this green background. Now I'm going to search for giraffe, and that will bring up all the results we have for giraffe in the library. You can see it's a mix of stock photos, illustrations, and cutout images. I'll drag the giraffe onto my design. Next, let's look for a speech bubble. I want to change the color for the speech bubble. I can edit and change text. When I'm finished with my design, I have a few options. Start by clicking the Share and Publish button at the top right corner. If you share your design, you can give the link to someone else. If they have a Canva account, they'll be able to open and edit my design. You can publish your design as an image file or PDF, or I can share it directly to social media. If I have any paid elements in my design, I'll be prompted to pay for them at this time. When I'm finished, I can click Home to return to my profile and start a new design. You can see that the design that we just created has now also been saved, so I can open it again later.
And I almost forgot to speak again. I'm so not used to doing it, often doing it while we're also holding the meeting. um, yeah, I think it's great too. The little video. I think that's the other thing that Canva is also very good at, is they've put together some good resources for folks to follow along. That Wisdom Seeker just mentioned the whole tutorial. Um, Little interactive kind of guide that they give you. That's it. The video that I just showed you was from Canva directly. The slides on the right are also from Canva, and so they really kind of I think want to not only in its interface make it easy for people, but there's lots and lots of um, resources. So you can hear me, guys, right? Again. So and as was just saying, and this is kind of funny because it was already in the note card, but oops. That it really is very simple to use Canva, and especially if you're going from a template, those main kind of steps are really just selecting that design, so selecting the template that you start with, and then replacing those elements that are in it, so fonts and images, and but they've already kind of started with that base element, um, and it's and as I also mentioned, that it really is perfect for creating, like, you know, Facebook banners and YouTube thumbnails and business cards, infographics, pamphlets, any visual things that you kind of need to it. Um, and if you want to get a kind of a view on all the templates, they have a great kind of almost like marketplace posting of everything, and that gives you an idea of the myriad of designs that they have and that they use. And I think I can even kind of put that up over here. Um, but lots and lots and lots of templates. So, and you could see all the categories on the left, and you know, whether you're looking for something professional or something of to post about an event, or an invitation for something, or you know, you've got a blog for recipes, or you're doing some interactive educational thing. Lots and lots of templates to start with, and um, these templates these templates are all designed by professional designers to begin with, so they have that good starting point that you don't have to worry, especially if you kind of start with them and you don't change things like what they are as a base, like the fonts and the colors and everything. They're already kind of good starting matches. So as I said in um, the video, um, the first thing is really to kind of start to kind of create a design. So I don't know if it'll work if that particular, yeah, it's going to ask me to sort of sign in. I probably won't be able to show on the webinar prim all the kind of back end things without signing in, but then you guys actually won't see that. So that first step of signing in, if you want to sort of see things deeper beyond the slides on the right, are useful, even if you just create an account um, and just to look at that part of it as I kind of go into it. But so the creating design, once you're logged in, and there'll be a create a design button. It's pretty prominent. It's like up in the upper left, big green button, and you click on that, and it will load the various categories of designs to start from. I don't think it shows it on the slide here. Nope. Um, but it it will sort of load a whole sort of section of various types of images, types of templates to start from. So there's social media ones, there's documents, blogging, and ebooks. I'm just scrolling down, and this is if you're logged in to marketing materials, social media, and email headers, events, ads. So lots of use cases to start from. Um, for today, if you're following along, I think the easiest thing is to sort of pick something from the social media section to work from. And whether that be a photo collage or some sort of Facebook post or social graphic, whichever you think you want to start with. But they're all a bit simpler than, say, going for a publication where there's a lot more elements at play. So if you're kind of following along, pick one of those. You can pick a um, like a various so pick one of those, and once you click on one of those, and here the slide to the right, there's also this start a new design, which I think that might be the guide sort of that it walks you through. You can also kind of click on one of those too, but either way, those will both lead you into the design section. So once you get to the kind of Canva editor, so you pick that template first, that's that first starting point, and then when you're in the editor, you then are kind of, you have all the design tools that you can kind of start with. So and let me put that in text too, and it'll load your template, and to the left the side navigation will completely change. So what you should be looking at now is similar to what's on the slide on the right. Basically, it will load, if you pick like sort of social graphic, it will load on your right this blank template, which is the blank white window, which is kind of what your presentation will, what your graphic will, the workspace for your graphic. And then it will load kind of, it starts you off on the layouts, because layouts is really sort of the first place you should begin to kind of create, kind of gives you the various layouts you can choose from as a starting point. Let me kind of walk through the side pieces though, just so you kind of, I'll explain what those little side left navigation are: the search, layouts, text, background, and uploads. So on the left you'll see those, and the search one is a basic, simple, like where you can search for photos or illustrations to place in your template. So you can click on that, and you would see like a list of all the graphics and sort of standalone images and illustrations you can drag and drop. A lot of the templates have sort of live zones, meaning like if you selected one of the templates, it might have a background image, or part of it might have a photo, and basically that photo, though you see it there, you can go into search or and drag another photo right over it, and it will swap it out. It won't change the other elements like the text or anything else like that, but it will just change the background, that image photo for you. So anywhere there's a photo in a layout, you can kind of use that technique to kind of just to replace it. So then there's the layouts tab, which is the one that you see here. That is sort of that base, like you've picked a type of template, right? So social media graphic of some sort that we were talking about starting with, or it could be again a brochure or a template, a present email or a banner or something like that. But either way, once you go to this thing, it will load all the various layouts, and that allows you to further kind of customize what that starting point is. So you can kind of scroll down. If you click on layouts, you can sort of scroll down within immediately kind of to the right of layouts where all those little thumbnails are. You can sort of scroll down and see all the various choices you might want to start from. And some of them might appeal to you if, say, you are if they're top, like the image and the font and the colors are right for what you think works for yours, or but again, you can kind of change out a lot of things that even if you don't quite like, say, the fonts or the photo, that is easily changeable. You don't have to actually go with exactly what's there. Then you have below that the elements. Actually, this slide looks a little old, by the way, based off of the way Canva looks now. This is probably a slightly outdated presentation from Canva that we're looking at, the slides. But so the elements button is not shown on this one. But the elements is kind of like it includes all the things like frames. You know, if you wanted a grid, shapes, lines, illustrations, icons, and charts. So there's a lot of those pieces that you can actually also drag out into your graphic. And you'll notice too, when you're looking at any of these things, like if you clicked on search, if you clicked on layout or elements, you might notice when you mouse over something or at the bottom right of each of those little previews that it says something like free, or it might have a dollar cost to it. So that gives you an indication if you drag something out, if you don't want it to be any cost to what you're doing, just make sure you're dragging out free items. If there is a cost, as it showed in that video, it will kind of calculate at the end what that might cost. And usually that might be, for something like some of these elements might have costs, and some of the photos, if you have a stock photo, there are sort of kind of two levels of the premium photos, and then photos that are free. So just keep that in mind, that when you drag things out, you probably want to start off with free things, so that way what you're making there will be no cost to, and then as you go you can kind of add to there. So Elements has all those little extra goodies of pieces, graphical pieces that you might need to add to it. And again, even if your design that you pick, your layout that you pick, does not have, say, a frame or have any, you can actually add these elements on top of it, even if it doesn't exist in your existing template. So the other thing, oops, that should say text, not test. The other thing is text, and this is where you can add a block of text that has your starting type and style to your design. These kind of, and these are, I think, especially useful if you're starting from scratch more so. If you're starting from a layout, as we were talking about today, you probably won't need to dive into this, because, and you'll see if you started with a blank, if you don't choose a template and you drag this out, it kind of adds like a little blurb, and the sample text that you see in each of those little boxes, like the titles and the little headers, or like the titles and the subtitles, and like that is exactly the text it's using as its placeholder text. But once you drag it in, you can change it to whatever you want. So you don't have to worry about if it doesn't say exactly what you want it to say. You're really kind of looking at the type of the text for the headers and the footers, and the headers and the subtitles and those kind of things. Though there may be some standalone, like you might see, like, oh my God, this is great text that is talking about a baby shower, and I need to make something for a baby shower. Like, you may find perfect match right off the bat that you're fine with. But just know that it's all editable. So background is where you can choose an overall background image. And again, that is a bit more useful, I think, if you're starting from scratch, because you can just put down a toned background or a pattern, or any of those sort of things. And it works similarly to the photos and the layouts and elements, that there are free things and then there are paid versions too. So keep that in mind when you are choosing them. And then you have uploads. So this is where you can upload, and I mentioned this in the video, you can upload your own images, um, or or even connect Facebook. If there's an image that's in your Facebook account that you want to use, you can use it right from there. You could pull that in. This is also where you can upload your logo, which is important if, say, you want, in the case of here where where we're doing this at Nonprofit Commons, if we wanted to make sure that what we're doing has the Nonprofit Commons logo, say it's for our upcoming, next meeting or those kind of things, which, so you guys know, I actually have been using Canva a lot to make up quick graphics for some of the meetings. So, you might want to upload the logo, and then you can continue to kind of keep using it, and pulling it into your designs as you need. So, let me kind of move forward here. So, as I said, to start with, you're going to choose your layout, and then you want to select the image that you like. Oh, and this is actually a better kind of like, you could drag that basically right onto that frame. So I'm using this little slide there. It starts here. If they sort of are kind of have a couple different steps. The layout itself already has an image, but you can actually go to search for an image, and then, as we said before, drag that right into, either replace the image that is already in there. You just basically click it, left click it, hold it, drag it over, um, and then it will replace the image that's there. If you're starting from scratch, it will just put it there if there's not already existingly an image there. And then actually I should have gone through these slides when we were having it. Like, this is when we were talking about it, but this is the background one. If you want a plain or a pattern background, you can pick that as well. You could still put images on top of it. And if you pick a template that has a plain or pattern background, you can use the backgrounds. You can go to the backgrounds tab and select a different one if you want to change it out. You'll see here in this image that it also shows transparency, or so you can kind of like, you can actually further adjust the background if you want it to be more transparent, or if you want to flip it around. And it's the same thing with image, these very basic tools here. If you want to get more complex, that you can actually kind of modify the image some. So, and you can do that to other elements as well. So in the images, or elements and things as well. So before we go to this, if you've been kind of, I don't know if anybody has been playing with the social media graphic or anything like that, but once you have your image set up the way that you want it, you can sort of save and publish. Well, they call it publish here, but you can actually save and publish the image, the design. And let me kind of go into Canva so I can see that for myself. So you would then click you can click the share button. Like, there's sort of buttons up at the top right that you'll see: share, download, order prints, make public. If you click share, it gives you several options. So you can invite people to edit it. So share, in their case, has lots of uses. You can either invite people in to sort of work with you on the file. You can share it socially if you want to actually share it to Facebook or Twitter directly. You can also link to it, and in this case, you're linking the file. So, like, think of share as not so much the it's more like the inviting people to use your design, or collaborate with the design. So if you give them the link, when you go to link, you can see that you can share it by either editing, sort of a little bit like Google Docs. You can give somebody the ability to either edit or view the share if you give them the link to it. And that's again a good way if you wanted to. Yes, and you can embed, right? Um, uh, which is another great thing. So if you have a website that you have, you can embed it. You have to make it public first. It will tell you that. It'll if you haven't made it public when you go to embed, it'll say make design public. Um, Actually, I'm gonna pop back over here. I bet there's yeah, it's not. I'm gonna see if this slide is a better view. Back to kind of the beginning, just so if we can get the share buttons if they're there. Okay. There's yeah, not on these views unfortunately, but yeah, if you do want to embed it or make it public, uh, or distribute it in any way outside of just sharing it with a collaborator, in the very upper right there is a Make Public button. Um, and I actually have to load a design first. So if you have to be working on something, if you have a blank canvas, um, it won't it won't work. So you can test this by, if you've got a layout, you can go to publish, but and that will make it publicly viewable. Um, and then now when you go to share, it will, and go to embed, it will actually give you the link code. And you can either embed that in your WordPress site or even just the raw HTML. The other thing that once you click public, you can do is you can download. Well, either way you can download, but the other important thing is you can download your image. So if you are using it in Twitter, so if you are using it in Twitter or Facebook, or you want to drag it into your Microsoft Word document you're working on, if you need a quick image for something, you can download it there, and then it will give you a choice of things depending upon what you're working on. If you picked something like a social media post, you probably want either a ping or a JPEG, and it will kind of give you what it thinks is recommended based on the original template that you picked. If you were working on something that was a poster or a document or publication, it might give you kind of PDF as an example. You want to definitely choose PDF, but it will have that in the list as well. So you can click on once you click download, you can click on the file type. So like in this case, ping. If you've even got transparency, say you didn't use a template and you just dragged in some text and some other things, but you didn't put a background in, you didn't put any background image in, you can actually select transparent, and it would be a way to kind of put in like a typographic banner that would sort of show through the back. Like if you put it on your website, it would actually show the background of the website, so it would kind of just be transparent any places that weren't image that you hadn't placed. So that's a kind of an interesting thing as well. Sometimes useful if you need it for a transparent image that you're putting it onto a toned or colored background somewhere else, like on a website or on a Word document that might have, or PowerPoint that might have some background color to it already. So that's what that little kind of box is that says transparent background, and you'd want to select that if you wanted to keep it transparent. The as I said, and I'm gonna kind of flash forward again to the slides. Oh, you can also order prints, which is the other button at the top. So if this is something that you wanted like a flyer of, you can order directly from, and that's another way that they obviously make some funds come in for them is that you can actually order prints directly from it, in the same way that like Flickr allows you to like order photo books and stuff like that. Besides using the templates, as I said, you can also create designs from scratch in Canva without using a template. And, again, those steps are fairly simple. They're slightly different because you're not sort of starting directly with the layout tab. Uh, you are you would basically be selecting the size and shape, which is similar to here. I think this slide here has the various base sort of shapes of things up at the top there. So a presentation, a poster, a Facebook cover. You would be starting right from a blank design. And then you would set your background, which is on, let's see which slide they use for that. I think it's this one. So you would set your background, and then you would add your text and images. Like, here's the images. You could drag in an image to it. And then, you would be able to, oops, doesn't have anything for text, but you'd be able to also add text. So you go to the left and add text and drag your text in, and then type and edit that. And then put any URLs. You could upload like I said, logos by the uploads button, and then you just basically finish and save the same way that you normally would, make it public and download or distribute it. So that's where you can start from blank if you want to fully design your own. But those templates are great places, especially if you don't have don't feel as comfortable starting from scratch and want something that's already sort of pre-designed to start with. The other great thing about Canva is they really kind of want to educate folks to become better, at putting together and understanding not only design, but where to use design and how to use it. So they have a lot of tutorials. If you click on there, it will access the tutorials, and I think I can actually pull that one up on the webinar prim for folks. So they have lots of tutorials, similar to like seeing all the design layouts. They have lots of various tutorials on things like branding and on how to lay out certain things. And branding, by the way, and I will kind of click in the text that I had about that. Branding is in essence, your logo and your style design that you've sort of set up for it. In case you're wondering what the word branding is, if you've never heard it in that way, and then as one of those tutorials, here's a great one on using on typography and fonts, which I think is another place that a lot of kind of newbie designers or people that aren't as familiar with designing often kind of get caught up in. It's, I think you often see, and if you're not a designer, you may not necessarily be able to articulate it, but sometimes you might see a design that looks too busy or too noisy or doesn't quite coordinate right. And I think the typography and the fonts used, and often it's the amount of fonts used, are kind of one of the biggest pitfalls for folks that aren't as experienced in design. So this is a great article in regards to that. They also have actually, I'm kind of a little bit above myself. What I was talking about too was the articles. So they also have articles, and here's actually the link for the one for the typography. So they have tutorials which walk you through step by step, and then they have these articles, and here's the one on typography. And super useful, the whole combining fonts. I think you might not be able to articulate it, but when you see something that has way too many fonts or not quite the right fonts, it is noticeable. So this is a good article that walks you through sort of some of that, like choosing complementary fonts and and again, you probably don't have to worry about this if you're using their templates. They've kind of done this step for you. They've chosen a bunch of fonts, though you still can, like when you go in to click on the text and type in it, you'll also notice there's like a text editor that looks a little like Word or anything else where you can change the drop down of the font. But if you want to experiment, yourself, or if you're creating something from scratch, I think this article is super useful um, in learning kind of a bit, just a bit of enough of why choosing fonts is important. And here's the little kind of blurb I put on that. Um, that and Canva also has a great little tool that you can use sort of outside of even Canva itself. Um, but it's a little kind of tool where you can sort of coordinate, like kind of pick your fonts. Uh, and it's like a little typography made easy. So you could pick a font, like say I don't know if it'll show up on the web trim, but you can pick a font. It'll give you a bit of the, here's what this looks like in both that, and so you can kind of quickly sort of see what that font would look like and how to work with it. And I'm just going to put that little blurb of text that I also had with that. And the other thing, not sure what you mean in that, Franz. Like, is it just not showing the full quality?
Yeah, what I'm seeing right now is basically a lower, like I'm seeing like lower image quality, basically, like it's simple down.
Yeah, I think
From the
that.
thing I made.
Did you try downloading?
No, I'm just looking at the preview.
Oh yeah, I might try downloading. I think the preview is going to be a little lesser quality than the actual. Um, and the other thing to your end resolution, like, and for those who don't know what resolution is, I mean, we've talked about it before in regards to the screen ratio of your monitor. Um, uh, the Depending upon the type of graphic you chose, especially for the social media category, like say you were doing something for Facebook or Twitter post, all of those social media sites have recommended your image should be this amount of pixels by this amount of pixels. Um, Canva is taking that sort of prep initial work out, like taking it away for you. You don't have to worry about that. But when you output it, it will only be at that ratio that it should, that size dimension as it would need to be for that thing. So if you wanted something that was much more higher resolution that you weren't going to be using just for a social post, you might want to start with either a blank image or start with something that should be printed as a PDF. Um, uh, like, so just that will also affect when you download too. Um, I don't think. I mean, I think their designs are kind of mindful of some of that, but you would probably have to adjust it. Like if you say change the background color, it's not going to change the font color automatically if you go in and start to edit an already existing um, uh, template. So um, so you just want to be aware of that once you kind of start diving in to edit things, you will go further and further away from what they set up as their layout. So, you know, you can kind of undo things, of course, but you know, if you change, fonts here and that font doesn't quite go well with whatever the secondary font is, or if you change the background and it doesn't quite go with the image, like, you might have to keep playing around with those things to kind of keep it still seemingly an aesthetic design at the end. Um, and let me see Zinnia's question. So, you know, you so if you don't make it public, I would say you cannot. If To your question, Zinnia, if you don't make it public, then behind the scenes it's fine, right? Because it's just in your account and it's not shared publicly. In some ways, it's a bit like having a public collection of designs and a public collection. And a private and a public collection of designs. So the rest of the Canva world won't be able to use your designs. If you make it kind of public, um, it then can be downloaded and looked at and all that. Okay. Thanks, Franz. So, I would say, certainly you would want to keep it. You would want to keep your design not published, so don't make it public. Um, and Franz, by the way, there is a resize button up on the upper left. I think you might play with that too to see what it does. But yeah, so I wouldn't. But as for the IP of what Canva itself holds, um, I have not dove into that. So I would encourage you to do that. For my own uses, I have not done anything. Um, for my own uses, I have Adobe Creative Suite and use it extensively. So when I want to do something deeper or more important, I use or more proprietary or important or complicated, I use one of those tools. Um, and I am a little less worried if I'm using a social media thing, um, like using this for like a social media post because I'm already sharing it publicly anyway. Um, so, but I definitely would say I can look into that and see what their right is. I imagine it's a similar to a lot of these internet creative companies that they obviously like here in Second Life they have the right to sort of store and serve and all those sort of stuff. And I think as long as you're not making it public, you're avoiding the idea that anybody else can see and or share and iterate from. Um, uh, and let me see if I can actually. I think I can even show you guys. Here's some of the things that I have worked on. They're just some of them are tests, obviously, for today, and some of them have been a couple of images for the Nonprofit Commons meetings. I found it very useful for that. The other good thing about Canva, at least to us, is that there is a nonprofit um, sort of account. Um, I'm watching my slides go by crazy. So there is a nonprofit account, and that's the link that you can find out details to that. So sort of similar um, to other sites, you basically can go to prove you're a nonprofit, and then you get a premium account for free, which is nice. So those here that are nonprofits, they do have an educational plan too, educational kind of designation. Like when you first started, it asked you like, what are you going to be using Canva for? And if you said educational, and I think that isn't the I don't think they're giving you a premium account. It's just sort of a regular account. They're just kind of catering, I think, some of that user experience to you. But the nonprofit is a premium account for free. So if you do have a 501c3 and you think Canva is going to be useful for you, I would say sign up and use it. I mean, we could go a lot. a lot more into Canva, but I think that whole simple drag and drop nature of it makes it really useful for like quick graphic stuff, and especially if you don't have the tools like Adobe Creative Suite. And again, kind of here's the base slides that came from Canva, so you can kind of look at them there. And let me find my little Pinterest board again. And here's the Pinterest link again, which has sort of these and a couple articles, and there was a couple other articles, and I'll probably put them in there as well. But I would say, oop, and then somebody, oh, I see what happened. Ha ha ha. My web, I didn't set this to the right group, so my little presentation board just ran away. But that's okay. It's perfect timing, I guess. The but that Pinterest board will have all your resources as well, so you can head there for any of the links that I've had, and I'm going to put a few more links to some articles. There is a good article if you're interested in kind of the more how-to branding, how to kind of use this for your org or company or school, like walking you through kind of the step-by-step. That is on the Pinterest board, and the link is just there. This idea on how to kind of create visual content in a step-by-step way. So between hopefully all these things, the little video that we showed and the slides, and I'll make the slides copyable for folks. Hopefully you can take a copy. And if there's any, yes, definitely that's a the for ownership of our own self, we should have ownership of that. The only thing that I have to check into is I think like what in the terms of service we're giving Canva. And if you don't make it public, if you don't want others to use it, then don't make it public. But you can still invite others in to collaborate with you. You could still download it. You could still use it in those kind of other ways. But the public kind of like, as you saw in my profile, it puts it up into your profile. And people can kind of look at it and sort of iterate from it and share it. It's a bit like some of the I don't know if any of you remember the memes presentations I did, like some of the tools that can kind of make some of the meme graphics. In some ways, a little bit like that. Like once you kind of publish it publicly, other people can kind of come off of it. But I invite you all to explore. Did anybody? I know there was a couple links. If you can like reshare the folks that made anything. As you saw in my profile, I made an image for today. I will. You'll see that in my profile, the whole learning to design using Canva. That was made obviously in Canva. If you have any questions, feel free to, or anything you want to share. Otherwise, anything else about Canva? I mean, obviously, I don't. Did you guys find it? Those who stepped through it at all or looked at it on the site? Did you find it useful to kind of like look around and drag and drop things and play? I think the more you play with it too, the better. The easier kind of to kind of understand the flow of it will be. But it's super useful, I think, especially. You think here in Second Life or other things like that, a lot of these textures that we bring in for event signs or images, or you can quickly make them. And better than that, like if you had a community like we do, you could kind of create create a base design and then share it with others, and then they could kind of modify it from there. So that's it. So you would definitely have to, like, if you steps wise, I would say you would have to go to the create a design, pick a template. So you would want to probably pick something that's square. Probably if that top thing, the social media. I mean, if you're talking about Second Life, right? The social media post one, which I'm not sure. When you click create a design in that top section with the social media stuff, there's one that's called social media design. That one is square. Um, and then from there, it will load those various layouts if you clicked a layout that you liked. And some of those, especially if you're talking about a sign for in world, a lot of them are very simple, like patterned or interesting backgrounds that have places for text. So you would just kind of click one, and that'll load it on that right panel. And then you click on the text, retype what you want for the text. Um, and then from there, all you really need to do is, once you have it the way that you want it, if you weren't going to change the graphic any, like if you liked sort of the layout of it, of the image and the way that it is, you just are really mostly changing the text, and then you can hit download, and then that image will get saved to your desktop, and then you can upload it into Second Life. So that should be as simple as that. So yes, absolutely. So I think these are perfect, and I think once you walk through that a little bit, it becomes easier. So we're kind of at the mark of things. So if there are any other questions, uh, you can kind of put them in chat, and also we'll be doing mentors after this, so you can feel free to even ask other questions or message me with questions. I'm happy to. I'll look at that. I'll kind of look behind the scenes at the terms of service and IP question, because that's kind of a thing. If anybody, we can jump to a quick open mic, and I'll sort of say that in chat as well. But if you have anything to share, then let me know. If you have any upcoming events or any announcements, we can do that, and then we can break and jump to a quick mentors. But I hope you guys liked it. I mean, it's a simple tool that I figured we could fit the workshop in one go. So, and I look forward to all the happy, beautiful things you make. So, yay, all the signs. At least here. So I'm going to jump back to text, but yeah, feel free to keep putting questions or anything in chat as well.